Hey everyone, and welcome to the Balanced Bodies Blueprint. I am your host, Vinny Russo.
And I am your co-host, Dr. Erin Stansfield.
And we're shifting gears from all the conventional fitness narrative you hear on most fitness podcasts, as our main emphasis lies in preventative healthcare, adopting a holistic approach to nutrition, and challenging the traditional views on various fitness topics.
Our mission with this podcast is to provide you with the information you need to achieve optimal health.
And on today's podcast, I want to talk about something that might be a little hard for most of you. And that is that change that's rooted in self-judgment is never going to stick. If you've been trying to fix yourself because you hate what you see in the mirror, you're setting yourself up for just another cycle of short-term results followed by long-term frustration. So with today's podcast, what I really want to do is I want to focus on breaking that pattern. I want to talk to you about why change fueled by shame always burns out, just like a match. And then how shifting your mindset to self-respect could finally unlock the sustainable results that you've been looking for. But before we dive in, I want to give a shout out to our sponsors from day one, Legion Athletics. They are the only company I know that have evidence-based formulations that they actually provide with every supplement description. So if you're like, hey, why is it dosed out to be this? They provide you with the research to actually show that. So what you can do is you can use code RUSSO, RUSSO, to receive 20% off of your first order. But what I want to do is I want to start off this podcast. I want to start it off with a question. Think about the last time you wanted to start a diet or a workout program. What was your initial first thought for wanting to start this? Was it something like, I can't stand the way I look right now, or, ew, what the fuck is that? And you're like grabbing your love handles. I'm willing to bet that for most of you listening right now, you have been there before, and you probably have started a diet or workout program because of that. But the truth is, you cannot hate yourself into loving your body, right? You can't bully yourself into becoming confident. And every time you start a new plan with that particular mindset, you're planting seeds of shame. And you should write this down. You cannot grow a healthy plant in poisoned soil. Let that sit for a second. Just think about it. How many of you have gone like all in, right? You cut your calories by a lot. You're barely eating anything. You're only eating like grilled chicken thrown over lettuce. You kill yourself in the gym, right? Only for all of that to just burn out in a month or so. That is what we call shame-fueled change. It feels urgent, but it's built on self-punishment. And what happens is you eventually fall into this cycle, and we could call it, for lack of a better term, the shame cycle. You get this temporary motivation, right? You get this little burning fire to start, and then that leads to restrictive overdrive, where you're doing like crash diets, or you're overtraining, or you're punishing yourself with endless cardio sessions. And then that leads to self-sabotage, because when results aren't instant, you automatically hate yourself. Or you quit because you've been trying to fix something that you believe is broken and it's not showing. So what happens? You self-sabotage, which then eventually, over time, you telling yourself how bad you look and how you can't accept it and that you're grossed out. It'll lead back to that little bit of temporary motivation, which will start that cycle all over again. See, if your inner dialogue is, I'm a failure, or I'm fat, or I'm fucking lazy, you're just reinforcing that identity subconsciously. And people rarely rise above the identity that they believe about themselves. So if you keep saying this shit like, I hate my body, do you really think that you're going to wake up one morning and just magically start treating your body with love and respect? I'm going to go on a limb here and I'm going to say no, because your actions follow your identity. If you think you're fat and you think you're lazy, you're going to continue to do the things that'll keep you in that identity. But now let's flip the script. What happens when your reason for change is rooted in respect instead of rejection? Like you start eating well because your body actually deserves energy, not because you shouldn't eat junk food. Or you start exercising to feel strong and confident, not to punish yourself for last night's family pizza night. When you come from a sense of respect and it's internal, you're going to have behavior change that sticks. So when you can hone in on your why, right? Something that's beyond this surface level, that's going to drive your actions, which will build habits that you will want to keep. Just think about it. Which mindset is more likely to lead to a lifetime of mindful, healthy eating habits? Is it when you say, I'm fueling my body with this meal because I care about my energy today? Or is it when you say, I have to eat this salad because I'm fucking gross? Probably going to say the first one, right? So let me give you an example of a mindset shift that I did with a client. So I had a client who used to basically run extra miles every time she messed up on her diet. And she thought that this would make up for her mistakes. But what she didn't realize is that she was actually creating this like negative relationship with food, seeing that if she wasn't perfect, she needed to punish herself. So what we did is we shifted her mindset from I need to punish myself to let me actually use that extra fuel for gains. So we initially transitioned her from running into actually training hard and heavy, which then made her feel empowered, right? Not punished. She saw it as an opportunity to actually get stronger, and that strength will lead to confidence, to show some muscle tissue, which then made her look more toned, right? Now, this was only a transition, and it was only a transition away from the punishment aspect, because later you can't just like substitute it like that, because then you might start seeing working out as maybe like a punishment. So later what I did is I started incorporating weekly free meals to show her that like perfection isn't the answer, and that it's okay to veer off, because you're not going to see like crazy repercussions for falling off on one meal. And then eventually when she did mess up, she literally shrugged it off and just made sure she was back on track with her next meal. And this not only shifted her mindset and her relationship with food, but she had more time with her kids on the mornings and the weekends, because when she would overindulge on Friday night, she would spend a couple hours at the gym running to try to work that off. And as a coach, literally almost every success story that I've coached started with a turning point where they stopped changing their body out of hate and started changing their habits out of respect. Yes, the initial start was probably the same way, like I mentioned in the beginning. Like, I just don't like the way I look. I need this to change. And that built a little bit of momentum, but as we stuck with it, and as you have a coach who kind of reinforces your why and reinforces, you know, the positive aspects of dieting and like how they're changing as a person and how one habit will lead to another, and you get into this, then they start realizing that these little healthy habits that they're doing, they want to do it. It's not like because they need to do it to change their body. It's like they want to do it because they feel so much better doing it. And when they feel so much better doing it, that'll continue to push their habits throughout their entire life, right? Because it started going from I'm doing this only to change what I look like externally to I feel so much better when I do it, which means my body's healthy, which means my blood work improved, which means I have more energy for my kids, which means I'll be around longer for my kids, right? That's where that turning point happens. So to start a diet where you don't have someone that could constantly push you in the direction of positive thinking and positive affirmations. And as woo-wooish as it sounds, if you are starting with such a negative relationship with yourself, you sort of need that, right? Because you have to start reframing your mindset. So I'm not going to say that you shouldn't start a diet when it's rooted in something like I just don't like the way I look and I kind of want to get back to the way I used to look and used to feel. That's whatever. Like I said, it's going to be an initial short-term lived motivation. And if that's what you need to get started, by all means, okay, but you can't live like that though. It has to change from that external to the internal over time. And if you can't do that by yourself, you need a coach who's able to do that. And I've been coaching for over 14 years, and it's something that I've realized when I started focusing more on the general population and not bodybuilders, that this is what builds everlasting change. Bodybuilders are a different animal. It's a different breed. Bringing people to the stage, it's a different breed. They're doing it for a specific reason, and that's it. When they want to transition and get back into like a lifestyle type thing, there's a lot of issues that arise from that. And these issues are mainly because everything is geared towards an external look. So then when they go into the off season and they see their body kind of get out of shape, or not out of shape, they're not out of shape by any means, but that doesn't look like what they look like on stage, there's this mind fuck with them. And it's because their habits are not rooted within the internal. It's in the external, because that is their goals. That's what they're geared for. So those bodybuilders over time, and by bodybuilders, I'm talking about men and women, bikinis to open class bodybuilding. When you have these individuals and they transition into a lifestyle, when they're done, it's very difficult to get their mindset on the internal instead of the external. And I know a lot of clients, hopefully some that are listening to this right now, can actually say, you know what, I've been there, and Vinny, you've helped me through this. Because there are, like I said, I transitioned my career from bringing people to stage to just general population. Number one, it resonates with me more. But number two, it's everlasting change that you are able to instill in someone or help them instill in themselves. Because bodybuilders are short-lived, and God forbid they don't win first, then it's your fault. So, so let's talk about some practical steps while I get back on track now to help shift your mindset. The first step is that you need to audit your inner dialogue, right? So how do you do this? Easiest way to do it is you write down what you say to yourself when you miss a workout or you get off plan, right? And then you ask yourself, well, would I say this to my kids? Would I say this to my best friends? And if not, you need to change that immediately. Change it immediately. If you would, you might have to question, how you talk to your friends and children. But the point of this is like, you're most likely not going to say that. So it's time to change, right? Step 2 is reframing your goals. Instead of saying like, I want to lose 20 pounds because I hate my belly or I can't stand the way I look in the mirror, shift that to, I want to have more energy. I want to feel more confident. And that could happen by dropping 20 pounds, right? It's just a change of words that you speak out loud that sounds more internal than external. Step 3 is going to be to choose additions over restrictions. And this might sound counterintuitive, especially if you're trying to lose weight, but think about it. Focus on adding more protein, adding more water, adding more movement, adding more vegetables into your life, right? Focus on building health, not constantly taking things away. Step 4 would be, and I feel like this is one of the most important things, is to celebrate your micro wins. Like these little wins that you have along the way, you need to celebrate them, because respect for yourself is going to be built through recognition. Every time you show up for a workout, every time you make a decision where you're out of your environment and it's for the benefit of you, you need to acknowledge it. Pat yourself on the back for it. Celebrate those little wins, because when you recognize that you're doing the right stuff, you'll continue to do the right stuff. And then step 5 is going to be building identity-based habits, right? So on a daily basis, you want to ask yourself, what would a strong, confident, healthy version of me do in this moment? Or what can I do right now that my future self can look back and thank me for it? Right? And then this is how you start to rewire your brain. You go from being the person who's trying to lose weight to becoming someone who lives healthy because they actually value themselves. So the main takeaway with this podcast is that you don't need another 30-day challenge. You don't need a stricter diet. You need a new reason why. If your reason is rooted in self-hate, you'll keep repeating this constant cycle. But if you start acting out of self-respect, you'll change in ways that last, because you're finally going to be building something from a solid foundation. So before you start your next plan, before you start your next diet, before you start your next workout regimen, whatever it is, I need you to ask yourself one question. Am I doing this because I hate who I am right now? Or is it because I respect who I am about to become? And that answer could be the difference between another failed attempt at this transformation that you've been dreaming about and actually having success with it. So on behalf of Balanced Bodies, we just want to say thank you for joining us on this episode of the Balanced Bodies Blueprint.
We are committed to bringing valuable content. And if you enjoyed today's episode, we'd greatly appreciate it if you can take a moment and like it and leave a 5-star review.
On Apple, just go to the show, scroll down to the bottom and rate it there. If you're on Spotify, go to the show's page, click the 3 dots, and you can rate it there as well.
And if you believe in the power of knowledge, share this episode on your social media to try and get the information out there to as many people as possible.
And as you navigate your own path towards better health, remember that Balanced Bodies is forever in your corner. See you all next week.
The podcast content may include discussions of medical topics and health-related information. However, the information provided should not be considered exhaustive or complete, and it should not be relied upon as a substitute for professional medical advice or treatment. Always seek the advice of your physician or other qualified healthcare providers with any questions you may have regarding a medical condition or treatment.